Hey everyone, this is Harrison Moss with Harrison Moss Music. Do you want to play New Orleans blues piano like Professor Longhair? For those of you who don't know, Professor Longhair's name was Roy Bird. He's also known as Fess. He was a New Orleans pianist and singer that was popular in the 1940s and 1950s. Fess is considered one of the founding fathers of New Orleans blues piano. He's particularly known for blending Caribbean rhythms such as rumba, mambo, and calypso with American rhythm and blues. In today's lesson, I'm going to share with you my favorite Professor Longhair groove from his song, Hey Now Baby. Let's dive in. Before we jump in to the left hand and right hand patterns of the notes, I want to make a comment about listening. Listening is one of the most important things you can do if you want to play like your favorite musician. I highly recommend listening to Fess and purchasing some of his albums. Listening can help infuse the feel, flavor, and groove into your mind, hands, heart, and soul. So when it comes time to play, and as you're practicing and learning and trying to simulate your favorite artist, it will be much, much easier for you to do. There's certainly some magic in listening. You shouldn't skip it. For this song, Hey Now Baby, I'd recommend listening to the two recordings off first his Rock and Roll Gumbo album that came out in the 1970s, as well as his London concert solo piano album that was released in 2005. All right, now that you have your listening, let's get to it. Let's start with the left hand. The left hand is essential. The left hand establishes the groove, provides the rhythm, and sets the foundation that you play the right hand over. Fess was all about rhythm and groove, so having a strong and automated left hand is important. I recommend on working each hand separately, I recommend prioritizing the left hand first and automating it before adding the right hand in. With the left hand, as mentioned, the form of this groove will be a 12-bar blues in C. There'll be 4 chords, the C chord, the F, and the G. 1, 4, 5. Pretty straightforward. The most basic left-hand pattern we can play would sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, and 3. 1. I added one note there. I'll show you later, but you get the idea. When I'm playing 4 notes, C, E, G, and back to E, outlining a major C major triad. The rhythm I'm playing is very important. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 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 1, 2, and 3. So the notes are coming on the 1, the 2 and the 3 and the 4. 1, 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2 and 3, 4. 1. You want to practice that rhythm? Start basic, play with the metronome, backing track, or even play along with the recordings themselves to get a feel for that. Now, Fess doesn't always play this type of rhythm, but it is played primarily throughout the tune. Once you've mastered the basic left-hand pattern, you can start to add things. I'm going to show you a few things you can add to the left-hand pattern to change it up. These certainly aren't required, but as we add things, it becomes closer and closer to what Fess is playing. Now, Fess doesn't actually stick to one left-hand pattern in most of if not all, of his songs. So feel free to change it up. Even within the same chorus, you'll hear Fess will often use different left-hand patterns. So don't be afraid to try different things. The first addition I'll show you is the addition of a single note to the left-hand pattern. It sounds like this. You'll notice I'm adding a G for on the C chord, or the fifth, that comes in and beat the 4 end, the end of 4 rather. Apply to the other chords, the F chord, G chord, simple addition. Again, you don't have to play this for all the chords. You could play it for some chords and not others. Change it up. Now the second addition you can do is play an octave on beat 1. Now this changes up the fingering a little bit. Feels more comfortable for me to use the 4 and the 2 on the E and the G. Sometimes I use the 3 and the 2, but I think it makes more sense to use the 4 and the 2 on the 3rd and the 5th. So applied to all the chords, the C it would sound like. You get the idea. And that's pretty close to what Fess is actually playing. I'll share one last addition you can add. This is not what Fess typically plays. This is more of a Dr. John or Fats Domino style left-hand pattern. And it's very simple. What they would do is simply add an up slide from the minor third to the major third across the left-hand pattern. So what that would sound like is this. So you see I'm sliding the minor third to the major third. Apply to the other chords, the F chord, to the G, if you want some Fats Domino or Dr. John into that left-hand pattern, simply add in that minor third to major third slide. You'll have it sounding great. Now the right hand, this groove has a mostly basic pattern that's slightly varied throughout the 12 bars. On the 1 chord, the pattern goes like this. And that's it. And it repeats with some slight variations over the other chords. The note on fingering here, I like to have my index finger on the C and I hit my thumb on the A and the G, and then I'll slide from E flat to E and up slide off the minor third and then back down, and the pattern repeats. A couple things to note. You'll notice these notes largely come from the A minor blues scale. We're using every note except the D. You'll also notice a key component of this is that slide. You want to make sure you have that slide. That's what gives it its New Orleans flavor. That minor third to major third slide. For the F chord, slight variation. So we start out But now instead of hitting the E, we hit the E flat, which on the F chord is the flat 7. Again. Then we go back to the C chord. We use the same right hand pattern on the G chord, a slight variation. Instead of the C as the first note, we hit the D, which is the 5th of G. Then we go back. The second half of the pattern is the same thing we use for the C. So that would, again, the G. And then we're back to the C pattern. So played together, I'll just play the root notes. I won't play the left hand pattern. It would sound like this. Now, the final G chord, I probably wouldn't play the riff again. It does get repetitive. What Fess plays, again. I'll have to listen to the track to get the rhythm for this. That's it. Now let's add things to the right hand. The first thing we can add is upper harmony notes to the pattern. So if we're on the C chord, that's the basic pattern. So on the first note we can add the 3rd and the 5th as the upper harmony notes, and play a C major triad in root position. Does that sound cool? So we're adding those 2 upper harmony notes. Now instead of just playing the E, what we're going to do, we'll play a 2-note chord, and we're going to slide up to that minor 3rd, major 3rd upslide, and then come down. Okay? So again, so we're going to actually hit these notes at the same time, the E flat and the G, and we're going to slide with our same finger up to the E, or the major 3rd. And then come down while holding our pinky on the G. It's very important. Holding the G down on this aspect of the riff provides a little bit of a harmonic foundation as we come down the riff. So this would sound together. This is much closer to what Fess is actually playing. Very important to make sure you hit those notes, E flat and G at the same time, and get that upslide in. Now, something else we can add to this is to add a triplet to the pattern, and that would sound like this. Isn't that cool? So we're adding that triplet pattern right after we hit that 2-note chord. The triplet is between the C and the E, or the 1 and the 3rd, and then we're coming down. You have to practice the fingering on this. You could just do. Now in terms of options for fingering, you do 2 and 3. I think that makes the most sense. Sometimes I'll do 2 and 4, I notice, but 2 and 3 probably is more natural, maybe makes more sense. Use what works for you. So with the left hand, it would sound like this. Now we're cooking. All right, for the F chord, the 4 chord, similar concepts. So instead of just playing the C, we're going to add the E flat and the G. So essentially playing a C minor triad, or you could also think of it as the 5th, flat 7, and 9 of the F7. And then on the E flat, we're going to add in the G as an upper harmony note. And we can also add the triplet. This time between the C and the E flat. Now a couple options and variations. Like I said, you could play the C, E flat, and G. Sometimes I like to catch, I'll substitute the A for the G, 3rd for the 9th. It's up to you, doesn't really matter. Lastly, for the G chord, remember the basic form, where you can do a couple options here. There's actually 3 different patterns you can play to add to this. The first, probably my favorite. So instead of just playing the D, we're adding in the F and the A, playing a D minor triad. We could also think of it as 5th, flat 7 and the 9, turning into a G9. And then on the second half of the pattern, you play it just like you did in the C chord. So it would sound like this. That's one way to play it, probably my favorite way. A couple other options, you could use a different voicing on the first chord. You could play a D, F, and G instead of the 9. You would substitute, or the 2, you would substitute the root or the G. I personally like the 9. I think it gives it a little bit more color. Another variation, the last one you can do, is you could come down the riff. So you could just play something completely different, and that would sound like this. Again. So essentially we're just coming down, playing something a little different. We're going to add that triplet. Home. Hope you guys enjoyed this lesson covering my favorite Professor Longhair groove from his tune Hey Now Baby. If you like tutorials like this or would like more New Orleans blues piano tutorials, let me know. Comment, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and take care.